In this episode, I'm pleased to be joined by Heidi Blackie, who shares with us the inspirational story of how she overcame chronic illness by believing in her body's ability to heal itself. She discusses the importance of self-compassion, acceptance, and our core beliefs when it comes to healing and to living our best lives. It's a good conversation. Stay tuned.
Nobody's ever gonna take your place. Yeah, I think we should meet in the middle. I follow you 'cause you're the light of the day. I need you like you need me, it's so simple. It's so simple.
Welcome back to the Gen X Juggler Podcast. I'm so glad you're here, and I'm so glad that we're joined today by the unshakable Heidi Blackie. Heidi Blackie is a speaker, consultant, and creator of Unshakeable Me, a science meets soul program helping women dismantle limiting beliefs and reclaim their inner power. After chronic illness brought her to rock bottom, she made a radical choice to believe in her body's ability to heal, a turning point that reshaped her life from the inside out. Her story is an invitation to anyone facing personal challenges, offering grounded hope, actionable tools, and a powerful reminder that we are far more capable than we think. I love that, Heidi. Thank you for being with me today.
Thanks so much for having me, Deb.
I know that your journey started, as many journeys do, with an obstacle in life that you had to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me about the time leading up to when life stopped you and how that shaped where you are today?
Yeah. So I'll take you kind of a ways back. My mom had cancer in the late 90s, was diagnosed, and she had a bone marrow transplant. And I took that to mean I got to squeeze the marrow out of every single day because I don't know how long I have. And so how that manifested was this crazy doing, which is also a cultural narrative, especially if you're a woman.
Yeah.
So I was running from the moment I got out of bed till the moment I went to bed. And I would always wake up with this feeling of scarcity of time because there's so much that I need to do and want to do. I mean, it's all choices.
Mm-hmm.
So I was living this lifestyle for over a decade, probably 15 years. And I was racing my bike and doing a lot of things. And I thought, oh, this is life. This is great. And then I started to have chronic injuries that wouldn't heal. And I would kind of patch myself up and I'd keep on going and kept racing my bike. And then gradually, within a few years, I began having chronic illnesses as well that would take me out for several weeks. And then I'd kind of be functional again. And then I would get really, really sick again. So it was this cycle where I had kind of flare-ups and then I'd kind of be okay. And then I'd flare up and be okay. But by 2014, I couldn't race my bike anymore, and I actually stopped riding my bike and started paring down the things in my life and shrinking my world because I was exhausted. I was so fatigued and just not feeling good. And then 2016 came, and I lost my dog to cancer. 2 months later, I lost my sister to suicide.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And then after that, 6 weeks after that was my wedding. And
my goodness.
I was so sick at my wedding. That's how stress manifested for me, was I would just go into another flare. And then a year later, I moved in with my parents to help my mom in the last 3 months of her life. And then I had a whole bunch of successive things after that, like car accidents and laid off from a job and other things that were just so much stress. I had inflammation in every system of my body, and I just started to go downhill pretty fast. And by 2021, I had lost my career. I'd lost a lot of relationships. I couldn't drive. I couldn't think. I couldn't find words. And I got to this point where I had tried numerous doctors. Nobody could diagnose me, no treatment plan. They were kind of throwing darts at a wall, and I would try things and it would make me way worse. And I was doing all the nervous system regulation stuff, somatics, breathing, limbic system retraining, neuroplasticity, and I taught that, and it's helpful, but I always felt like there was a little missing piece that was me. And I remember sitting in my kitchen one morning. It was dark and rainy, January, and cold in Washington. And I just felt this level of despair that I'd never felt before. I'm a pretty positive person, but I just felt like I'm it. Like I'm alone. I've got my dad and my husband support, but they don't really understand and they're really scared. And I was really scared about how much worse I continued to get. And with my mom's history, I just thought I'm going to get cancer, and I'm not going to have a functional life anymore. I'm not going to be able to do the things that I love to do. And I turned inward for the first time. I'd been chasing all these answers for the years, but never found an answer. So I just kind of checked in with, like, what am I believing about my ability to heal? And I sat there with it, and I was like, I'm believing I'm not going to heal, and then I'm going to continue to get worse. And that was the most raw truth I think I've ever faced in my life. And I thought, if I can't heal, if I don't believe I can heal, then I'm not going to heal. I'm not. I've got to be on board no matter what. So in that moment, I made a vow to believe in myself, which is new because I didn't really believe in myself much my whole life. And I'm going to believe in my body's ability to heal. And I have no idea what this looks like, but I'm just going to commit to it every day, sometimes hourly, in this belief. And I dove into research on the biology of belief, which I knew about placebo effect, but I didn't realize just the depth of our beliefs in terms of their effects and expression in all the cells of our being. And then I researched, mindfulness and meditation and journaling and attention and intention and gratitude. And I developed these rituals that I would do every day of mindfulness, movement, meditation, journaling, and just mantras, like sticky notes everywhere, like believe, believe. And every time I felt doubt, I would replace it with believe. And so gradually I started to kind of feel this light, this hope of being able to heal. And I kept going with it. And I went through acceptance and compassion and vulnerability and found so much strength there when I met it with kindness and appreciation for really how hard my body had been fighting, but I just was resisting kind of what I was losing. So it's just been this unfolding that is still unfolding. And it's this unshakable me is this deep part of myself that is unwavering, is always there, is an ally, a champion, a well of strength, resilience, and joy. And this knowledge and deep knowing, a deep, deep knowing that I'm here for a purpose, and now I know what my purpose is. And things are working out for me. And even though this has been so painful for so many years, it's been worth it to find what I have found. And that's what I want to share with everybody, because we look outside ourselves for what's really inside, and we aren't going to find it out there if it isn't in here, like
That's
a
so true.
durable feeling. So it's just this this incredible journey. I'm always surprised at where I am, what I'm doing, and how far I am from that crazy million miles from myself person that I used to be.
Where you are now and what you gained from all of that experience, good and bad, is so beautiful. And also, it's such a good message for you to be here now, because I guarantee you there's someone listening to this or watching on YouTube right now that is in the throes of that moment of, am I ever going to get better? Is how in the world can I get better? How can I get out from under,
Mhm.
whether it's illness, stress, terrible life situations that they've walked through, whatever it is. I think your message is so important for the people to hear that are there right now. Can you talk more about the importance of our core beliefs in coming out of those bad times and how you were able to do that? Because I'm sure there are people listening saying, well, I would love to. I would love to believe that I can. How do I get there?
Yeah. I mean, as a person who's had the voice of doubt kind of overrule belief, it is not a instant thing. I mean, there's a lot of people out there who are, 15 minutes a day, and you've got belief in yourself down and you're enough and all of that. And it's not true, because we have these pathways. My doubt pathway is like, the dog that's run along the fence back and forth. It's a deep trench of doubt that's just instant, versus, okay, I'm going to commit to this belief in myself, which is like a jungle
Yeah.
that I'm trying to create this pattern. And I think of belief as a living, breathing organism that you have to nurture every single day. So
Yeah.
it starts with that seed. My vow to believe in myself right now is a seed. And I need to water it and tend it every day by the mantras I was doing, by creating situations where I can have the environment set up for me to succeed with that, to reinforce it. I also need to shift my attention to look for evidence that can support that new belief in me.
Oh, that's
Why
good.
why can't I? Why can't I believe in myself? What's in the way of that? And is that true? And I need to pull the weeds of doubt, of criticizing myself, of beating myself up, of sabotaging myself, all these things that erode my belief in myself. I need to be aware of them, and I need to address them and be aware, label it, and then choose differently. So it's really this organism. I think of it as that, where
Yeah.
I have doubt. I mean, it's something that it's much greater than it used to be, but I still get doubt. And I use doubt as an opportunity to reinforce that belief in myself. And by doing things where you're kind to yourself, you're compassionate to yourself, you're connected, that also increases that confidence to believe in yourself. So it's choosing a different story and looking for the evidence and the narratives to reinforce that story so that you create that pattern, that new pattern.
So that's what you mean when you say attention and intention. What you're paying attention to in your life gives you the evidence of what you're capable of. Paying attention to the evidence, because I'm sure if we look hard enough, we can find evidence for the things we're incapable of too, or reasons for our doubt. But paying attention to the evidence that you can succeed, that you can move forward, that your body can heal itself, that you can do hard things. That's really cool. And then setting your intention to do that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was a lot of testing these old beliefs and stories.
Oh, good.
Is that 100% true that I'm not going to heal? Well, it hasn't even happened. I don't know. But if I believe it's not going to happen, chances are very high that it's not. So with placebo and nocebo, we know your expectations, your anticipation is huge. And it has a physical effect on every single cell in your body. So if I'm setting myself up, that's an environment. I'm creating an environment that's going to keep me sick and keep me stuck because I'm believing I'm going to stay sick and stuck. But if I want to change that environment and say, wait a minute, I have this innate capacity to heal. We all do. We've just been conditioned to outsource that healing to others. And we have this incredible, you look at a cut, it just heals. I'm not thinking, okay, reepithelialize, come on, fill in.
Right.
We're not.
Right.
It just does it.
Yeah.
So if we can just look at that as evidence that my body can heal, and I'll find a doctor someday to help me, and I did. But it's setting that environment up to support that new story, because that's what I want for my future, and then live in the now, being, having gratitude for what I have right now. And it's not just all about my symptoms that are screaming the loudest or my anxiety that's screaming the loudest. There's a lot more here
Yes.
that I can use to say, you know what? There are some good things right now. And believe in that. Believe in more of that. And have a vision for the life that I want and the health that I want. And really step into the embodiment of that vision as much as I can to feel those really good feelings, which then has a systemic, physiologic, and emotional response to that.
It's amazing how
Yeah.
we are such holistic beings, and we separate out mind, body, spirit, when they really just work all together. And I'm hearing that as you tell your story. It was about what you believed. It was about your body reacting to its stressors, physical, emotional, however those were. And then that spiritual connection of, I'm a created being who was created to operate well, and I can heal. And that helplessness of feeling like we need to go outside of ourselves to seek that sometimes puts us in a cycle of, well, that didn't work, I'll go to this other person. That didn't work, I'll go to this other person. And I'm so grateful for the doctors in my life, and when we need medical care, that they're there. But you're right, we're created to heal if we nurture ourselves well. And in doing that, we can rewrite our story. Like you said, I love the idea of rewriting our stories.
Yeah. And, there's a whole field of psychoneuroimmunology that's blowing up right now, which is exactly what you're talking about. What you think about, what you believe affects your immune system and everything. And if we can harness that, and we have a great doctor, we work together, it supercharges your healing. Like, you're an amazing partner as a patient. So it works great on your own until but even when you do find someone who can help you, bringing that to the table, you've got more than double the the effect of what can happen in terms of the healing power that you have. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's so well said. And I know you have a medical background as an occupational therapist. How did that inform your belief in your body?
It caused me to do a lot of research because I'm a nerd and I also want to look for the evidence, especially if I'm doing a program. But and it also kind of made me a little bit dogged when I'd go to doctors and they would dismiss me, or they would say, oh, this isn't, you tested positive for Lyme, but I don't really think it's Lyme because I don't know how to treat it. And
Yeah.
it gave me the resilience and the strength to advocate for myself. And I know the medical system very well, but I also had no idea of this kind of root cause type of looking at the terrain that is extremely different with chronic illness than it is for acute illness. And so it was a completely different lens that I had to learn a ton about for just chronic illness. It changes the body on so many different levels. And you have to really look at holistically. You can't just go after the bugs because you've got all these downstream effects of it. So it's really looking at all these different aspects of your immune system, your body, and kind of approaching it in a very different way than I was used to. So I had that kind of medical model reductionist, but as I wasn't getting answers, I was going further and further out into some fringes, energy medicine, and some different things that weren't mainstream because I wasn't getting any answers in mainstream. So it definitely was an advantage because I'm not shy. I'm not, if I'm not feeling like I'm getting answers, I'm going to go to another doctor, or I'm going to do more research on finding the person who can match what I'm looking for. So it was helpful. Yeah.
That's great. And that's interesting. The minute you said the difference between acute illness and chronic illness, it's like a light bulb went off in my head because you're right. Acute illness, we can go right to the doctor, say this is wrong. They know exactly what to do and they can fix it. Chronic illness is so multi-layered. And I felt like I shared with you that I had my own bout with chronic illness, and I remember feeling like the doctors would get frustrated. I felt like they were frustrated with me, but I feel like they were just, at the time, I feel like they were really just frustrated that they didn't have the answer. It wasn't 2 + 2 = 4, and I know this because I studied this. It was, what in the world is this? And I think some doctors would let that fuel their inner researcher and get very excited about it, and some would get very frustrated.
Yeah.
And want a simple answer. And that's just, that's being a human being. And I think many of us would react in that situation a similar way when what we know doesn't follow what's happening in front of us, and it just kind of shakes us. Do you feel like chronic stress is a huge precursor to chronic illness in some way? I feel like I'm seeing that connection among people that I know.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Chronic stress, there's a lot of research that talks about the relationship between inflammation and illness. And when you have stress that is unmanaged and is prolonged, which is pretty much our culture, plus sedentary lifestyle, diet, all these other things, definitely it is going to have an effect on the body and create that inflammation, and then a lot of downstream effects from there. So yeah, it isn't just my opinion. I mean, the research is there that inflammation is at play in all of our, cardiovascular, cancer, Alzheimer's, dementia, diabetes, all the big things. Stress is a huge piece of it, and inflammation from that, and metabolic disorders that come from it, the big piece.
It is a big piece. And so nutrition, I would assume, is a very important part of beginning to rewrite your story and get your health back so that you can start again.
Yeah. I mean, nutrition, exercise, and also space. I had, I've seen thousands of patients and clients, and I always ask, what do you do for relaxation? And they would say, I don't have time to relax. And I'd always say, me neither. I love moving. That's my relaxation. And I do, but it's critical to have downtime. And whatever
Mhm.
that looks like for you, preferably not just zoning out in front of Netflix, but a time where you just have space, where you can decompress and take care of you. And that's something that I would say over 95%, if not 99% of people that I've worked with did not have the space for that. And it doesn't have to be grand. It could be 5 minutes, But it
Yeah.
is a really important piece to kind of ground yourself, especially amidst the chaos of life that we have right now.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, midlife can get so chaotic, so crazy. I imagined that midlife would be a time where things slowed down because the kids grow up and go start their lives and all and you're able to switch gears and focus on what you want to do. And that is not necessarily the case. It's almost the most stressful time in life thus far with everything we have going on. That stress connection and learning how to take space and reduce that stress is so important.
I think for a lot of people, midlife is when you wake up to the automatic patterns that you've been living in your life, the job, success, all the things that were, prescribed for your life as an American person.
Hmm.
And you're not fulfilled. You're in the middle of life. It's like maybe your kids are gone now, and it's like, I'm not really that happy. And I don't know if I can make it to retirement in this unfulfilling job or relationship or situation. And I think that's when a lot of questioning comes up and restlessness of this is it, this isn't that great. On top of what you're talking about with now even more responsibilities because you've got aging parents and you're in the prime of your life or leading toward the second half,
Hmm.
and what's next? What's going to make you excited to get out of bed and to really live? And I think a lot of people aren't living. They're just going through day-to-day life, but not feeling that spark
I would
of life.
I would completely agree with you on that we need to have something to be excited about, especially at this stage of the game. We need to have things that we look
Yeah,
forward
yeah.
to, ways that we challenge ourselves. It's not the time to stop learning new things, to stop
Mm-mm,
doing new things, to stop
mm-mm.
exploring how to make life better. It's the perfect time because we need it. We need that recharge. And it does take effort, but it's worth it.
Mhm. Yeah. And a lot of people say, oh, when I'm retired, I'll do X, Y, and Z. And I've seen a lot of patients who hit retirement, they have a stroke, they have a heart attack, they get ALS, they get cancer. And it's
Hmm.
like, you've put all this off until retirement. All we have is now. That's it. There's no guarantees for tomorrow or this afternoon.
That's right.
So,
You talk about self compassion. Can you tell me a little more about what you mean by self compassion and what role self compassion plays in a healing transformation, body, mind, and soul?
yes, self compassion is, I feel, this misunderstood concept of what does that even mean? but it's incredibly powerful. And what it is it is giving yourself that acceptance, that kindness, and that love for whatever shows up. And I think of acceptance as, acceptance of what's happening in your life right now, and acceptance of all of the parts of you. And for so much of my life, and I see this out in the world all the time, is this resistance to things we don't want to feel, because we are conditioned to move away from discomfort. So it's this, I don't want to feel bad. I don't want to feel sick. I don't want to admit what's happening to me. And what that does is it activates your sympathetic nervous system, because it thinks you're in danger, you're resisting, which is saying no. Acceptance and compassion is saying yes. And it's a very different feeling in the body to say yes to all this. And it doesn't mean that terrible things that have happened to you are all of a sudden okay. It just means that it's this acceptance of this is what is in this moment, which is impermeable. And if you go a step further, that's compassion, is to give kindness to that acceptance and that what you find. And that's like a living organism as well, because there's a lot that we don't like and we don't want to admit. And I believe what we're seeing in the world right now is people acting out what is inside that they don't like and that they're resisting. And that's manifesting as this disconnection and this polarization. But it's a mirror of what's inside. And if we can say, okay, I'm human, I'm going to make mistakes. There are going to be parts of, we all have all of the ugliness of humanity inside of us. We all do. It's just, do we choose to express that or not, and live, it's intention. Where do we choose to live from? And so giving yourself kindness, compassion, and forgiveness looks like changing the way you talk to yourself, catching yourself when you are mean to yourself, or really trying to be critical and judging, and saying, I'm human, I'm doing the best that I can, and kind of waking up to the way that you talk to yourself, the way that you treat yourself. We are never taught at any time in our life how to be ourselves. We are only taught how to be for society, for family, for employers. And so it's all very new. But if we can connect and we can give compassion to all the parts of ourselves, we don't have to outsource any of that validation, that acceptance, that enoughness outside of ourselves, because we've already got it inside. And it's this giant power that you have. And you have such a groundedness and such a stability that you can look at other people and you can see exactly what they're going through, the ways they protect themselves from the vulnerabilities they feel. And because you've seen that in yourself and you've had compassion for it, you can give compassion to them now, because you see the pain they're going through. So it's this incredible power that just grows and grows and grows inside of you with every act of kindness and belief and acceptance that you give yourself. And I believe that's what it's going to take to repair our world, is this connection to ourselves first, and then connecting with others, and definitely connecting to our natural world, which doesn't have to come after everything. It can be, kind of in simultaneous connection. There's a million videos on do this for your vagus nerve, do this for your nervous system, somatics, all these. They're great. But compassion has just as powerful of an effect on your nervous system as all of that. Plus, it helps you to show up as a better person for yourself and for everyone too, which calming your nervous system does too, but it's just so personalized. It's just such a different strategy or feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so necessary in our world today, the climate that we're in. When I deal with differing ideas with anyone, if I differ with the idea and love the person, that feels so much better. It doesn't feel good within me to feel all anxious and wrapped up about stuff and take things personally. And the more I choose not to do that, I do see a difference in how I deal with others as well. And you're right, it just overflows. Compassion, self-compassion
And they
overflows.
pick up on that. Yeah. They pick up on that energy. And your relationships are so much better and they're on such a deeper level. And even the challenging ones, if you can see, wow, okay, that person is triggered by this and needs, I see how they're trying to really protect themselves. And I can love them for that pain that they've been through, that they feel they need to do that. It just changes everything.
Yes, and I know that you're also big on gratitude. It's hard to say you're grateful for a horrible time in life, but one thing I know that I've developed through going through difficult stages is empathy for other people. Things that I've walked through that 30 years ago, I would have said, how did she get herself into that? That would never happen to me. All of those things that now I've had to eat every single word. It has brought me so much good as far as relating to other people and loving them and being empathetic to them, which I'm grateful for.
Yeah. It's that changing the lens.
Mm.
It's not even so much all of the events that happen to us. It's our perspectives. It's our
Yes.
perceptions about those events that inform what we do with them and how we feel. And so by going through adversity, you can't help but change your lens, and in the throes of it, I didn't look at it as this great thing.
Right.
I would have said, you don't understand, you don't know what you're talking about. But through this process of getting to know myself and really looking at the lessons that and the messages my body was trying to tell me for so long, I have changed that lens and that perception and perspective. And that's everything. If we can get curious about, okay, what do we got here? What can I learn? What could I do different next time? Then that's growth. And I'm all for lifelong growth.
Yes, me too. I completely
Without
agree
the
with
toxic positivity,
that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that you brought up toxic positivity. Can you talk about that more? Because I feel like that is such a problem today.
It is. And it's this idea that, everything is great and there's a silver lining to everything. But deep down, there's more there. And I think it's important to acknowledge what you're feeling, because it's a truth in our bodies, what we're feeling, what we're going through, and it does need acknowledgement. It doesn't mean I have to stay here, but I want to label, this is really hard right now, or I'm just really going through it. But looking back, I've made it through it before, and I know that I have the resources I need to get through this, and I can just be in this moment and not be trying to escape this discomfort or glaze it over with something positive. I think it's just as much of a resistance to have the toxic positivity as it is to push things away.
I agree. It's like a mask to mask our insecurities or our fears that maybe it won't work out, or maybe we're not emotionally mature enough to take a look sometimes. And I'm speaking for myself as well, to take a look at the hard stuff and call it hard stuff and say, okay, now what do I do?
Yeah, I think too, uncertainty, we have a really hard time with uncertainty, and that can be
Mm,
really scary. There are times when we don't have the capacity to hold what we're dealing with. Like when I was with my mom and she had cancer, and it was bone cancer, and it was so painful. There were times that it was like, I got to push it away. I got to resist it because it's
mhm,
just pulling me down, and I need to take care of myself. And that's one of the ways that I need to, is just not feel it as much all the time. So I think there's a lot of gray. And if you stay in that for too long, so, okay, it's really hard right now. You can say, okay, that's hard. But if you kind of marinate in that for like 90 seconds, it actually becomes a feeling. It can be an emotion that can be bigger and bigger and harder to handle. But if you say, okay, it's really hard, I'm gonna let it float by, and what else is here, that can kind of lighten it up a little bit. It's not going to take it away, but it can also broaden the lens so that you're not so focused on that one thing. And that can help a little bit with the power of it. But it's being able to sit with that, discomfort or that fear or uncertainty,
yeah.
and know, I've got resources.
Yeah, that makes it feel so much better to be facing the difficult thing, call it a difficult thing, not sugarcoat it, but also know, which returns
Mhm.
back to those core beliefs. No, I will get through this. I have support, I have resources. Being willing to reach out for support and resources is a skill that a lot of Gen Xers have to work on, but it's worth doing for sure. And not letting the
Yeah.
fact that I'm in difficulty become just the truth. The truth is it's difficult and
Mhm.
not up, it's difficult.
Right. Or put it in a context. This situation is really difficult versus I'm having a really hard time right now. I mean, even that's fine.
Hmm.
But I think it's when we personalize, and you just said a little bit ago, like, not to personalize. And so when we personalize it and we take it as
Hmm.
our character, then it becomes harder to look at it objectively. Whereas if it's like, oh, this situation is really hard, I need to think about how I want to respond to it, then it gives it a little bit of a different context, and that's a different feeling. And labeling has been, in the research, that takes your nervous system down a notch so that you are able to access that prefrontal cortex and respond. So it's actually really beneficial to put a label on a feeling, a situation.
That is so interesting. I was thinking about the difference between this situation is hard and my life is hard, which I've been guilty of saying even in humor, just like, ah, my life's hard. But now I hear that differently. I kept hearing myself say that while you were talking, and I was like, you know what? That's going to become a belief that I don't want. So, situation's hard, or this is hard right now, rather than my life's hard. What about for that woman or man who's listening right now and they are in, my life's hard? What would you say is the first step that they need to do to redirect and rewrite their story? Or are there multiple steps?
I mean, there's a lot of steps. I think that anything you can do to build agency inside of you is going to give you confidence to be able to meet the challenges that you're facing with more steadiness and more reserves. So acceptance, uh, and really kind of looking at what it is that you can find inside of yourself to give yourself care and love for what you're going through, for that hardship. You know, we're so great at problems, solution, problem, solution. And sometimes it's more about if I can develop myself and this connection with myself, that can create a clarity inside of you and a calmness amidst the storm. And it feels really good too. So finding a little piece of joy, and joy can coexist amongst pain as well. They're from the same place. So letting yourself feel some of the uncomfortable things also magnifies the things that are good and the way those feel. So it's that awareness of how you're showing up. And I also think too, sometimes the automatic patterns fly below the radar until we notice something that keeps coming up for us or something that's really hard. And I always tell people, look at the stories you're believing around your challenges. What are you believing about yourself and your capacity to meet that challenge? And what are you believing about the challenge? And a lot of times, just like in my case, there were a lot of things I was believing that absolutely were not true. Or they were maybe 40% true, but not 100% true. And so when you test the stories and the beliefs that underlie those stories for 100% truth, you can start to shift that lens and see, ooh, well, that's a story that came from someone long ago. I don't even remember who. And I'm treating that like a truth, and it doesn't serve me. It's my choice to either continue to express that story, or I can decide I want to shift that a little bit towards something that helps me, serves me better. When you have that strength inside to really look at what is coming at us, because it's all coming at us and it's also been programmed in throughout our childhood, then we have that real capacity to test it. And if you had problems in childhood, or like for me, I had not enough, it was like I reparented myself to give myself that. And I still do every day. And it's like putting in positive deposits in a bank. The more we can deposit versus withdrawing and withdrawing and withdrawing, the stronger we'll be. And so it's looking at, how can I be a more aware, compassion, stories and beliefs, and just kind of shifting that and looking at what am I giving my attention and my energy to that I can call back to me to help build my power.
Oh, that's so good.
So that's kind of a lot of things.
No, but that's so good. I love that your programs, it's on unshakableme.com. And I love that your programs are tailored to different things that we encounter. Can you tell me about a little bit about your programs and how people could get signed up and get in on your good work?
Yeah, thank you. I have a program called Unshakable Me Foundations, and I have 3 different programs that are really specific to people with chronic illness, another one for anxiety, and then another one for just navigating life challenges, kind of midlife. And a lot of the things that I talked about with you, Deb, are in my programs. We look at stories, we look at beliefs, we look at choices, acceptance, attention, and intention.
So good.
And it's kind of a blend of videos, integrative action steps, because knowledge is great, but if you don't apply it and integrate it into your life, then it's not doing anything. And I also have twice a month meetings, live Zoom for coaching and questions. There's a Facebook community as well as a community on the site where the program is. I love it. I'm really excited about it, and it's kind of part of my journey, all of the best nuggets consolidated. So it's an 8-week program, but people can take 6 months to go through it, and you can go as deep as you want.
Oh, that sounds great. And I will link all of your social media in the description so people can access you everywhere that you can possibly be found. And I encourage everyone to obviously go to her website and look at her programs, but also on Instagram. Heidi, you're so encouraging. I've been enjoying those, so check her out on Instagram for sure. Thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate your time and your insight.
Thanks so much for having me, Deb.
Nobody's ever gonna take your place. Yeah, I think we should meet in the middle. I follow you 'cause you're the light